There are many different interpretations of Islam within the Islamic religion, and different Muslims will focus on different parts of their texts. Some Muslims will go with the whole Qur'an. Some will pick and choose which parts of the Qur'an are reliable or are to be applied for today. Others will go to, for example, the Islamic law, and they'll take a huge part of the Islamic law. But then there are different versions of the Islamic law too. And so different parts of the Islamic world will go to different versions of the Islamic law. Others will go to the biography of Muhammad. Some will accept all of the ancient Islamic biographies. Others will say, no, those are not reliable. We don't go to those. Others will go to the commentaries of Islam. And again, they will pick and choose which commentaries from the 12th, 13th, 14th century, for example, which ones they want to apply to interpret the Quran. Some will go to the different traditions of Islam, the sayings of Muhammad called the hadith, and the actions of Muhammad. And again, different Muslims will point to different hadith, different traditions that they will follow. So there is actually quite a mixture of approaches to the Islamic texts. I always focus primarily on the Quran and on Muhammad, because every Muslim signs up to the Quran and every Muslim signs up to Muhammad and Muhammad's life. But even when looking at Muhammad, different Muslims will accept different stories of Muhammad. A lot of westernized or modern Muslims will have a very romantic version of Muhammad's story that don't necessarily align with the original stories of Muhammad. When I say original, I don't mean they actually are based on history, because there are big questions of whether these stories are actually even historically accurate. There is even questions on whether Muhammad was actually a real person. That's a whole topic of study. But regardless of whether he's real or not, he is the role model for all Muslims. So Muslims will point to different aspects of Muhammad's life to implement, to support the way that they interpret Islam. And the same as the Quran. So there's big debates within Islam. There's big internal debates. It can be helpful to maybe put Muslims, and you can't really do this with any religion, but just to simplify things, perhaps we could say you have your traditional Muslims, so you put some Muslims into the traditional category. Then there's others who are modern, and you have your feminist and your progressive Muslims in that category. Not that I like that term category very much. And then you have your more Sufi, mystical Muslims, and they will have a much more poetic view of Islam, and they will have spiritual connection to Allah, and they often will look to maybe Eastern type of meditations in their practice and in their worship. So there are many different kinds of Islams out there. And depending on what kind of Islam your friend follows, their response to your questions might be different. But that's a great way to get to know someone and to find out how they interpret their religion and to ask questions on why they come to that conclusion about their religion. So that's just very helpful to be aware of when we look at this vast religion of Islam.